Did you know that the Canadians burned the White House in 1814 during the War of 1812? A lot of people don't know that, but it is indeed true. The polite, funny-talking hat of America was actually our enemies in war just over 200 years ago. And despite my unapologetic love and patriotism for my country, I think it's time to expand my horizons and see how America likes being number 2 in North America. Today we will be getting 2 achievements: Canada First, joining the Axis as Canada, and it's 1812 all over again, which is to take and hold Washington D.C. as Canada. There is a third that you can get called Braaaaains, and I'll explain how to get it when we get there, but we won't be getting that one today. Right, before we get started, I've been working really hard on this channel, and if you appreciate it and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe because there is plenty of fun content to come. Let's get into it. Here we are, the Dominion of Canada. Very cool. We are under the brave leadership of Mackenzie King. We are currently experiencing a Great Depression, no surprise there, as well as a conscription crisis among French Canadians. So yeah, our manpower is not doing so well. Nor is our economy. If you take a look here, we have 4 mill factories to use, as well as 3 civilian factories. Yeah, you heard that right. 3. All this land and 0 production. Opening research is pretty straightforward. You go with electronic mechanical engineering, and you want to rush down as much of the industry paths as you possibly can. I don't intend to show you all the research that I'm going for, but the general rules of thumb is the same as what you would see from somebody like Bittersteel. Focus on production, this path first, followed by industry, and then construction. I usually don't go past this mechanical computing, but I will take this as soon as I finish electronic mechanical engineering. In this run, we are going to go heavy on artillery as well as infantry, so make sure you stay up to date on these. I don't have any intention of going any special forces today. We will get trucks eventually because, yeah, supply can be a little hard to manage in America. We will not be touching tanks today. We just don't have the economy to do it. And support companies, honestly, not really planning to touch them much either. Right off the rip, we'll just make a couple of civ factories, do what we can with that. And in production, we are going to get started on 1 support equipment, 1 towed artillery, and the rest into guns. We are going to need lots of guns. I won't be doing any trading because the malices are not actually that punishing. As far as focuses go, we are going to start with patriation, and we're going to follow that up with Swastika Club. That is going to give us our daily fascism support that we are looking for. After that, we're going to follow a couple of these guys over here and try to facilitate a bit more economy. And while we're waiting on our fascism support to tick up before we can flip and break free from Britain, we will go down a couple of these focuses over here. I don't build any ships because we don't have the economy to do it, and I don't feel like losing even more steel. And we're going to get all of our armies grouped up into one army, slap them down on a fallback order over here, and let them chill for a bit. Speed 5 and unpause. The reason why you want to take patriation first is obviously because it's the opener for that tree. But the daily autonomy progress gain is big. It's what's going to allow us to break free, so the earlier we take it, the more impact it has in the shorter period of time. As far as armies, the template is actually serviceable. We're probably actually going to keep this infantry block. We're probably going to add 1 support artillery, and that will be it for our base line holding infantry. Our economy laws are not the best. Civilian is obviously the worst that we can get in this situation, and we're not going to be able to switch up to these guys until we have war support, which clearly we don't have. There's an argument to be made about switching over to free trade for that extra output. I'm not so sure it would really be worth it in this situation because export focus is still pretty good, and 150 PP can be quite a bit early on. We are not able to change our conscription law because it is indeed locked behind commit to the war, which we need to be at war to get that focus done. Let's go ahead and go with Swastika Clubs, which will give us 100 points towards our freedom, but will also give us that daily fascism support, which is going to allow us to switch over sooner rather than later. Ah, yes, the Dominion of Canada seeks immediate patriation. From sea to sea, the Dominion of Canada will be free. For our first political advisor, we are definitely going to go with the silent workhorse. You'll see it's going to give us quite a big boost here, an extra roughly 0.3 PP per day, which is huge. It's going to be a big deal in the long term. And the reason why you take him so early is because the earlier you take him, the more PP you gain in the long game, right? After him, we will obviously get our demagogue for some extra support. The next focus will be the Roel Soroy, or however that is pronounced, for the extra PP. And then after that, we will get this CD Howe as an advisor with this Crown Corporations focus and work our way down here to get that extra industry bonus as well as the Civ Factory. Now, a bit of a contentious topic here. You have concentrated versus dispersed. Most people agree that dispersed is just superior in every way. The reason being you get less output as you would with concentrated. However, you get production efficiency base as well as production efficiency retention. The retention is big because whenever you switch from one type to another, such as upgrading your guns, you keep 10% extra. We're going to go ahead and go with dispersed. Concentrated would also be a good shout in my opinion because we don't really plan to switch a whole lot of stuff, and every little bit of extra output you can squeeze out of your industry is going to help you in winning a war. Now we're going to start this improved machine tools ahead of time. The main reason being production efficiency cap is really solid. It actually causes how fast you gain efficiency production as well. so I'm willing to take it ahead of time. Around the time we finish this, we're also going to unlock an extra bonus right here through our focus tree. And with that, we'll be able to get 1939 tech well ahead of 1939, which is going to give us a nice edge on getting extra efficiency out of our industry. Next up, crown corporations. For the sake of getting this army ready for the future, we're going to switch them all over to infantry. And if you shift click this button here, it will train them up until they reach veteran status, at which point they will stop training. That way we don't needlessly waste any equipment that we otherwise would lose if we just had them draining all the time. Now, something that I want to do this time around is I'm going to take this guy. He's only 100 PP, which is solid, but the major thing is that army experience gain, because the earlier we take it, the more we're going to gain in the long term. Because we're going to need to make some changes to our template, so every little bit we can get will be helpful. And with crown corporations done, we can hire C.D. Howe, a captain of industry, for an extra 10% construction speed on civs, which will be useful. Plus, he's only 50, which is really cheap. And as I said, we're going to go National Housing Act down to $1 a year men. We're going to need trucks, so let's get started on trucks ASAP. And to answer any questions about spy agencies, the main reason I haven't started one yet is because we can't. As soon as I get the civs to do it, we will get started on that, because we're going to need to get some collaboration governments on the US ASAP. If Britain wants to send me some guns, I will happily take their guns. Since we have a bit of time, I am going to go ahead and go with our industrial concern. It will help us unlock our industry even faster, and now we will exclusively focus on this, and we will definitely have enough by the time we need to break free. Oh, I'm so sad. I just built a civ factory and it went to consumer goods. Anyways, let's continue down our economic path here. Always love to get these events. Stability hit is not as nice, but the recruitable population will be useful, and the extra support will be nice as well. And here we go. We get our referendum here. This just happens once the brown team reaches a certain percentage. So for 100 PP, we get to switch over, and we now welcome Adrian Arkand here. I think this is the guy with the crazy comical smile in the base game. I have a portrait mod, which I will say I would like the vanilla one better just because it's so funny, but we'll take what we can with this. In 300 days, we will have 1939 tech. Early 1938, we will have tech that is a year early. And this is going to be super, super useful because it's going to allow our production to scale up faster earlier. As far as planes go, we're not even going to think about it. I have no industry. However, I will be investing into anti-air, which should give us a little bit of control of the skies, or at least limit the impact that their Air Force will have on us. In order to do this support the blue shirts focus, we need to be independent. We're going to be able to buy our independence here in 38 days, and we will not have enough PP at that time. So I'm going to go without a focus for a couple of days, start stacking up this political power. If you didn't know, selecting a national focus does take 1 PP per day. So as strange as it may sound, sometimes it can be beneficial to not take a focus. As you can see here, we are barreling towards our ability to get independence. Look at that beautiful shiny bird. Huzzah! Unitary Canada is now pink rather than red. And we can now support the blue shirts, which will give us recruitable population, which is going to be important, as well as some war support, which will allow us to change our economy law. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave the allies because we don't agree with them. And now I can click a button over here that is going to generate a lot of world tension. This is going to make things a little bit wacky, but it will make sense why I'm doing what I'm doing here in a moment. And now, how do you guys feel about joining this faction? All is as it should be. So we're going to do what's called a social experiment. We are going to see what happens to the rest of the world when we say, hey, I think I want to conquer these guys. You guys still see that world tension will spike, but that will unlock this Defense of Canada regulations for us. And more importantly, our war support has spiked, which will allow us to skip early mode and go right into partial. We are also now able to form an intelligence agency, so let's get started on that. And in preparation of war, what I'm going to do is I'm going to form a very, very small template here of cavalry. And what they are going to do is we are going to produce a lot of them, because what it does is it allows us to put a lot of men into the field without requiring as much equipment. So let's go with 48 divisions here. That will give us 2 full army groups, and we will get them popped out as soon as possible. And as painful as this is, I am going to switch one of these guys over to anti-air. And then as we get mills, we will put more into guns, but we also need one to go into trucks as well. This is going to be our focus for a while. And then we'll put most of our stuff into infantry equipment after that. In the meantime, our district militia here is going to get 1 support equipment. These guys can be like a star, that's fine. And then we're going to duplicate them. And these guys here are going to be our shock troops. Shock troops are our elite troops that are going to get the anti-air as well as some engineer, as well as 1-line artillery, bringing up their combat width to 21. But look at that soft attack. These guys are going to be our pushers. We are no longer on the toaster economy. We are now on partial mobilization, which has an effective change of plus 40% military factory speed and 30% to our civ factory building. But the major one you're looking at here is that 10% consumer goods factories, which is really important because that frees up factories that can get working on mills. And we're going to need the mills. And also, after we finish the Defense of Canada regulations, we come down here to Wartime Prices and Trade Board, which gives us some bonuses as well. But the main one we're looking for right here is the Canada Wheat Board, which will modify the Great Depression and make it so we get a huge buff to our consumer goods factories, as well as factory output, which is going to be really, really important moving forward. Now you can see these horse divisions are, for the most part, ready to roll. Now whenever we switch these guys over, you'll see we have no guns for them, but that's okay. We will get them eventually. As far as the agency stuff goes, I'm eventually going to switch over to an elusive gentleman, which is going to give us another one as well as help out with this stuff. But generally you want to get at least 5, that way you can get a second or third. We're going to go with invisible ink, the unfortunate pills, and probably these first 2 over here, as well as like a passive defense or something along those lines. Taking a detour here from this branch to go down this branch right here in order to get this recruitable population factor as well as factory output. It's going to hurt our stability, but that's not really a big deal in the long term. We have our first spy, so let's get them spying over here in Pennsylvania. Why not? Now, even though these guys aren't going to be useful for us in terms of their bonuses, the Army experience gain is useful, so we're going to go ahead and go with them. Now, we switched over to this elusive gentleman because we don't really need the daily fascism support anymore. And unfortunately, but kind of to be expected, the United Kingdom has guaranteed the independence of America. So that being said, for the purpose of the achievement, this won't matter, or at least it shouldn't matter. But for the purpose of the peace deal, we probably won't get a peace deal in this video. Now at the very last second, what you do is you cancel this, because I don't actually want to attack them. And if you get a war goal and then you don't push it, you actually lose stability. However, the world tension that we've generated will stay. And in the meantime, we can get working on some collaboration governments. You see right here, it will take 139 days and quite a bit of equipment, but I think it's going to be very much worth it. And we're going to go ahead and switch these guys all over. Our manpower and guns are nowhere close to what we need, but hopefully we'll be able to get this deficit at least minimized as things start to picking up here as our economy gets better because of this focus here. And since we have some time, we're going to go mine the shield. Alberta Coal Town's going to give us some of that. And now this is the part where you can go for another achievement if you want to, but for the purpose of this one, we are not. If you want to wait, you can take this one when you're at war and then go to send the zombies, which will give you recruitable population, which is nice, but it locks you out from this one here, which gives you a lot more civs, and this one here gets rid of the Great Depression and gives you some mills. And if we want to equip the large army that we have, we're going to need to get rid of the Great Depression. And as soon as these civs are done being used to prepare this collaboration government, we will finally get some mills started. This is going to be a priority moving forward. We're going to go with political loyalty here, which will give us that 15% stability, which will give us more PP. Chief of the Army, I think we're going to go ahead and go with attack. Our next purchase as a political advisor is going to be switching this CD Howe over to James Ilsley for the 10% military factory conversion. And we will now be able to start churning these guys out about 1 a month. Now, I don't think any of these are particularly that great. The PP gain would be nice, I suppose, but I think Professional Officer Corps for the extra Army XP and the daily command power is fine. The land doctrine cost would also be quite nice. And as long as we don't declare war for like 3.5 years, we'll be fine. No, I'm just kidding. We're working on it and we will be able to attack. We probably won't have all of our guys fully equipped when we do go to war, but we should be close enough. To go down the rest of this branch, we need to be at war. So what do you guys say? We get working on going to war here. We can bypass this one, push through here, and we can declare war on these guys in 140 days. Meanwhile, our gun deficit is still pretty big, but we'll get a couple of factories done in the meantime, and we should be kind of close to being okay by the time we go to war. It's going to be cutting it close, but I think we'll be all right. Now, for the purposes of our guns, I am going to do a little bit of a tweak here. We're going to duplicate these guys and have them be the district militia, but they're going to be the 2nd District Militia. District Militia 2, Electric Boogaloo. They can have the support equipment, but they're going to be a smaller infantry, like a 12 width, which is fine. And I'm going to switch these guys over here all over to that regiment, which will give us quite a bit of guns, because these guys over here should be fine for the most part. Now, the reason why you do not extend your front line all the way over is because you don't really care about that. What you're really looking for is for them to waste as much time over here while you're pushing over here on the East Coast. Now, these guys over here, I will use to split them down the middle and just create chaos, widen out their front line as much as possible, because ideally we have more regiments in the field than they do. The AI gets confused, we get to push for this, capitulate them as quickly as possible, get the achievement. Though to get the achievement, all we need to do is get onto Washington. So realistically, as long as we can push, it should be pretty easy. Now we do our defense scheme number 1, which will give us an annex war goal against the US. And it looks like we definitely have more regiments than they do. Now for our theorist, I suppose we will go with the land doctrine guy. And we start with level 1 for Grand Battle Plan. I suppose we'll just stick with it because it's not going to help us as much if we switch over. And this second idea here gives defense and org, which will be very useful. Going to train these guys up and get them ready because these are our pushing infantry. The rest of these guys are all just going to be there to basically hold the line. And you can see this deficit is going down quite quickly. In the next 70 days, we'll have finished up a couple of our factories, and we should be able to get this down to about 100 days off, which means as long as we're in the war and they're not completely crushing us, we'll be okay. My goal for the war will be to bust through the front lines here, cut them in half, kill off all these regiments here, which is, you know, a tenth of their entire army, and then push down, use these guys to cut them in half over here, widen out their front line, probably try to take a couple of victory points over here in Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, etc., and just basically defeat them before they're able to really get their guys in position. I do have some guys over here to at least hold. I don't know how well this is going to go, but basically I just don't want them to backdoor us. With defense scheme number 1 done, it does not seem like it expires. There's nothing wrong with us maybe taking 2 to 3 months to let our boys reinforce just a bit more before we push the war, because you can see how low that orange bar is. That's bad. That's really bad. I reckon we'll attack when this gets to about 100 days. And there you go. Rip. Hardly knew ya. They're going to call me in, but I'm not an idiot, so I'm not going to join. Now, I'm really leaning into going far ahead of time on artillery to get that extra bit of punch out of our regiments. You can see we're actually doing really well on our guns now, producing over 80 a day, which is incredible. The longer we wait, the better for us, but also the better for the US. So we're going to need to pull the trigger here pretty soon. We've unlocked the Sten. Rather than get rid of this guy, and then as our efficiency goes up, we'll start pulling them off and putting them onto the Sten. That way we can maximize how many we're getting while still upgrading them as we are able. I suppose there's no time quite like the present. Let's go ahead and attack these guys. And what we need to do is we need to tell our Navy that we want you guys to support the invasion. Now, we don't have a Navy because we only have 2 of them, but that first day should be close enough that you're able to do this. So I'm going to have these guys all go very, very, very carefully. But meanwhile, we are going to take these guys and we're going to push where it's soft and try to get some cutoffs. Slow it down a bit as well. And now we can go commit to the war, which will give us some manpower, which that's the major thing that we're lacking right now. Push, push, push. The sooner we can cut them off, the better. And here we go. These guys are retreating. Very good. Let's cut them off in this Bangor province. These guys are heading in here. Look at that. So good. There is no port over here. There is no supply, so they are going to slowly starve. And now these guys up here are all cut off. Looking good. Marching on Philly. Might as well connect up this pocket over here. Use these shock troops here to push where it's soft, so to speak. Australia is navally invading us in Canada. Sons of guns, man. These boys over here, I suppose, could probably create a bit of chaos if we can reach around there. Here we go. The little hat's falling off. Ping, 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 ping. And their casualties are going to start shooting up in the air like that. Ah, you'll love to see it. And with that pocket mopped up, it is time to push for Washington. Progress is being made. And see, they're wasting their time trying to take provinces over here that give them literally no contribution to the war. War bonds. Go ahead and go with some war propaganda again. Get our war support up. Hopefully get the war economy. Go here through prepared defense for a little bit of that defense and org. Finally, time to get these guys over here mopped up. Nice little encirclement here, possible. They're actually fleeing into New York, which is totally fine with me. So that leaves this 7 regiments over here to get mopped up. Let's push them out of New York. A nice chunk of men here. We can't let them flee. If we let them flee, they will live. They will become casualties if we can get them handled here. We've definitely taken more casualties than I would consider acceptable, but we are inflicting more on the US than we're taking. So there's something to be said about that. Really want to push into Pittsburgh and get this local supply hub, as well as cut them off from this supply hub over here. Push over here into Detroit. New York is about to fall. Glorious. And these guys are all stuck over here, so those are more casualties of war. Got a spot here open in Philadelphia, so let's push, push, push. Push, push, push. Encircle these Italian armies because they're being dum-dums. We've walked on Detroit, and we're looking to cut Michigan off. Maybe even link up with these guys over here in Chicago. Columbus has also fallen. Next up, grand assault here, breakthrough and soft attack for our army. And here we go. We have touched up with Chicago. Let's clean up Michigan so there's no more goofy front lines over here. And hopefully wipe these boys out from Detroit. Do us all a favor. Put these guys on cautious and tell them to push here. Create a little bit more chaos in the front lines if at all possible. There you go. That's another 6 encircled over here. 7, actually. I don't know where the 7th one came from, but it doesn't matter because they are falling like dominoes. 4, 3, 2, 1, and gone. Goodbye. Shock troops definitely laying the smackdown over here on the East Coast, and it looks like the front line has spread quite a bit. So much so that we actually have a couple of empty spots over here. Germany wants to send me some whatever this is. I assume that's like Czech guns or something like that, so I will take those. Let's see if we can push through another encirclement here. Why not? Push, 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 push. Push, push, push. and Washington is within spitting distance. Go ahead and go up to war economy. It's never too late. Every time I am able to push an encirclement, we are gonna take it. Here's another encirclement. What's 5 more regiments? Safe to say that American losses have definitely outscaled ours. And we keep on pushing and we keep on pushing. Push, push, push. These front lines are huge now. Look at this, dude. Good thing we have Germany helping us out. 15% war score. I think that's reasonable. Send a couple of guys in over here. See if we can backdoor them. Let's go ahead and encircle Washington here. Push, push, push. Washington is encircled. Easy peasy. Look at those green bubbles, baby. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, friends. Ah, look at that. And there you go. It's 1812 all over again. Thanks for making it to the end. If you liked the video, please make sure you let me know. Leave a like on the video. If you'd like to see more stuff like this in the future, don't forget to subscribe. And if you ding the bell, you'll get notifications whenever we upload. I'm open to suggestions, so if you have something you'd like to see, leave it in the comments down below. And YouTube right now is recommending you some videos on the screen, so feel free to check those out. I think you'll like them as well. Join my Discord, subreddit, Twitter, and get early access to all these videos if you support me on Patreon. Till next time, stay chill.